We family simply cannot afford to be impulsive. We can't make judgments or decisions or act based on hearsay. We never want to get into the habit of blaming our own shortcomings, our own failures on other people. One thing we don't want to do is allow outsiders to define our issues, to define our tactics. This doesn't mean we can't learn from people outside our community, nor does this imply that everybody inside our community is always right. Outsiders should not be leading our movements and should not be the principal influencers of our thoughts. We should never accept mediocrity. We should never accept being average. We should always be aiming for excellence. Accepting mediocrity is a no-no, and it's a surefire way to sabotage an organization or a movement. We have such a sad history of being duped by so many cults and cult leaders and giving people our money, and people even participating in mass suicide, following these cult leaders. People could be informed, articulate, sincere, dedicated, transparent. They don't have to be saviors and messiahs and prophets. We'll let the community decide that. But when the leaders and organizers themselves are telling you, I'm your messiah, I'm your prophet, I think that's a bad sign. Simply being a community servant is good enough. We must see the world as it is. We should never confuse illusion with reality. We should know the world as it is, its ugliness, its beauty, so that we can address it properly and resolve issues. See the world as it is. Don't be caught up in fantasy or illusion. Many times we as a people are starting with a deficit of money, time, and energy. The last thing we need to do is waste our resources. We should never respect people, organizations, politicians, whoever it is, simply because of how they look, because of their income, because of their so-called status, or because of their so-called power. Activists, organizers, and leaders cannot afford to be vain or shallow, nor can we afford to be materialistic and ego-driven. Family, we can simply not tolerate incompetence in our organizations. We cannot tolerate irresponsibility. It goes right in line with having excellent leadership. Incompetence gets in the way of any liberatory movement. We set people up to succeed, always, not to fail. We should never view members of our community as hopeless. It's very easy to start talking about your people like you're not one of the people. When you talk about them, you talk about yourself. And when you talk about those women, you talk about your mother and your sisters and your aunts. Remember that when you talk about the community. Remember to have nuance. Remember not to paint everybody in our community with these broad brushes. Don't demoralize the people. We should not participate in overly liberal or fundamentalist thinking. By overly liberal, we simply mean that anything goes. There's no boundaries, no parameters. Everyone's excused. Nobody is checked for what they're doing. We allow people to give excuses. No one's held accountable because we're so busy trying to be buddy and be friendly and not offend anyone. Fundamentalism occurs when people are rigid. So there's countries, you stole a piece of bread, we cutting your whole hand off. We're going to make you wear your hand around your neck. That's a little extreme. Maybe the answer is not in trying to hurt people, to bully people or be punitive. Maybe the answer, when we see behavior we don't like, is to educate people, to change the culture, to raise their temperature, to hit them in the head with truth and wisdom that they may be guided in a better direction. We should be loving and empathetic. We should be approachable in our organizations. People should be able to talk to us. We should be accessible. We shouldn't be nobody's fool. We shouldn't allow ourselves to be conned. We should protect ourselves. You should have balance.